interruption again. So actually my mic was not on, so that's why I am again for the small time of periods. I just recapitulate all the things actually. Okay, so what I say basically on lecture number 2, how I should be proceed. That's all basically. Okay, so see the lecture number 2 on the basis of, we see the previous lecture is on the basis of what, the Nehru Vian era, right? First and foremost, first PM, on the Nehru Vian era. See the Nehru Vian era, is basically we talks about, first and foremost we talks about the integration of princely state. First and foremost challenges, say after independence, say in front of our first prime minister, the means Nehru, J.L. Nehru, the integration of princely state, not only the J.L. Nehru, of our leaders actually, after independence, the integration of princely states. And integration of princely state, we talks about the background, how the integration of princely states, basically how India Independence Act basically passed, and all this, all basically the backgrounds area we first discussed. So on what happened on 15th August 1947, what happened, the India got independence, right? First, then on 22nd Feb 19th February, see India got independence, right? On 22nd February, February 1947, PM Adley, means Prime Minister of the British, says, right? PM Adley basically decided to transfer of power, or power transfer to the responsible hand, for transfer of power to the responsible hand. But condition, that time periods should not extend beyond June 1948. So that's why he sent Lord Mountbatten as a viceroy, Lord Mountbatten. On 3rd June, now the next develop. On 3rd June, 15 August 1947, India got independence. 22nd February 1947, PM Adley decided to transfer of power to the responsible hand, right? And then the power transfer should not beyond on June 1948. So that's why he sent Viceroy Lord Mountbatten. Now the next development on 3rd June 1947. What happened? The Lord Mountbatten gives the partition, or proposed the partition plan. Proposed what? Partition plan. Or two nation theory. Okay, now this partition plan or but two nation theory is basically decided on the basis of first point, the Muslim dominancy where basically the Muslim dominancy area where the partition and created, okay, partition and created. So that's why the two things or two states are this under the partition plan. First and foremost, Bengal, and the second one is Punjab. So the Bengal is basically wait on East Bengal and West Bengal, okay, and Punjab is same, also same. So the East Bengal, this is known as firstly known as East Pakistan, right? After the war 1971, under the leadership or prime ministership of Indira Gandhi era, right, it named into the Bangladesh, a separate country basically created, Bangladesh. The next one is basically under the partition plan, a referendum would be conducted. Where West Frontier Province, okay, Northwest Frontier Province and Sylhet area, means Sylhet means nowadays Assam, okay. Then the third development basically a commission stabilized, commission stabilized, stabilized, okay. Then the next one is basically act has to be passed has to be passed for transfer of power, for transfer of power, okay. So these four basically decided, right, for partition. So on 3rd June what happened? 1947 Lord Mountbatten proposed partition plan or two nation theory and decided that the Muslim dominancy area were partitioned and created first and foremost, right? So then the Muslim dominancy area were partitioned and created. Now that's why the Bengal and Punjab, these two states are basically what Muslim dominancy area are there. And then these two under this basically the Bengal basically divided into two parts, say East and West, East Bengal and West Bengal, broadly named as Pakistan, and then it's later known as Bangladesh, right now. And then the referendum would be conducted Northwest Frontier Province and Sylhet, Assam, okay. The referendum means what? If nothing, this is voting, only voting. The voting process is basically known as referendum, right? Then the commission is stabilized and the act has to be passed for transfer of power, right? Then the next development what? The next development is basically happened on 18th July 1947. On 18th July 1947. What development? see, first and foremost, on 3rd June, what we say, we looks that the act should be created. So that's why the Indian Independence Act was put forward. Indian Independence Act was put forward. The transfer of power so Indian Independence Act, the most important act. So Indian Independence Act was put forward, right? Then the next development basically the Indian Independence Act basically put forward for the transfer of power would take place on 15th August 1947. Okay, now next, the second development basically that a commission should be established. So see here, the act should be passed done, then the commission established. The commission basically known as Radcliffe Commission. Established. Okay, and the Radcliffe Commission basically drew Radcliffe a line basically, drew a line which divided Radcliffe line which basically divided the Punjab and Bengal. Okay, and create what? India and Pakistan. See, one, the act should be passed done, right? In Independence Act. Then the second development, the commission established, Radcliffe Commission done. Then the fourth, the Muslim dominance area partition plan, right? So partition, fourth, Radcliffe, through the Radcliffe line, Punjab and Bengal partitions done. Okay, now India and Pakistan created, right? India and Pakistan 1947, and it said the complete transfer of power will be made to the broad of dominancy between India and Pakistan. Okay, so what happens? See, it's the Radcliffe line. It says that complete transfer of power. The transfer of power basically completely will be made on the broad of dominancy, the major two dominance area, India and Pakistan, right? Means the power transfer on the responsible head between India and transfer. And then the next thing is basically condition. The next condition basically what? Lapse of paramountcy. The next, lapse of paramountcy. It refers paramountcy. Most important. Okay, development. It refers means lapse of paramountcy. Lapse of paramountcy means what? Lapse of paramountcy basically refers to the rights of states, rights of states which flows from the relationship with the whom? With the crown, and will cease to exist to all the rights that the state have surrendered. Okay, so what happened? Lapse of paramountcy means what? The lapse of paramountcy basically in the time the states, right? Now we talk about the states. The states are basically, there is two type of states are there. First and foremost, princely states, and the another one is basically what? Another one is basically the British, directly under the British rule, right? See, the princely states like Awadh, then etc. We looks in the history actually, Jhansi, Awadh, this all. Awadh basically act as a buffer line, right now. So buffer states. So princely state, which basically where basically the powers on the hand of the Britishers, but the king is basically local. Okay, and British rules is basically directly under the crown rule, British crown. Okay, now what happened? The lapse of paramountcy means what? The lapse of paramountcy basically refers to the right of the states, means the states, this today which flows from the relation with the crown, and will cease to exist, and the state have surrendered the whatever the rights and the powers the states have surrendered, right, under the British rules, or the crown, right, this shall be returned to the princely states, right? So what happened? The powers surrendered by the princely states. The princely states surrendered the power to whom? To British shares or British crown or British rule, right? This power, the power which is surrendered, this will return. This shall be returned to them. Shall be means must be, right? Here it is nothing. It is just like a status quo ante, right? Status quo ante. This whole, the returning of power to the princely state which basically surrender, this is known as status quo ante. Under this, the 565 princely states occupied 48% of land and 28% of the population, right? So the 565 princely state basically occupied the 48% land, okay, and 28% of the population, right? So if we look the broadly, so on 15 August what happened? And 47 independence, 22nd February, then 3rd February development, 3rd June development happened, and then 18th July the development happened, right? Now the next development. Now the next development, 3rd June, the next and then 18th July. Then the last development happened on 25th July 1947. What happened? In this, the Mountbatten basically address The Indian chamber addressed the Indian chamber to princess where chamber to the princess of the princess where he made an appeal to all the princely states, an appeal to all the princely state, the 565 princely states, right? Remember the 565 princely states, all the princely states that. So these 565 princely states, where basically the Mountbatten proposed that to the Indian chamber, to the princely states of the princely state or princess, say, Mountbatten basically proposed that they have or appealed that they have no choice, means 565 princely states have no choice but to accede to any of the dominancy, either it's India or it's Pakistan. Okay, so they have no choice to remain independent. Actually, the princely states basically appealed that they have to be, basically Lord Mountbatten said that they have to be joined. So that's for this the process, the instrument of accessions. The process is basically the instrument of accessions, means the sign, instrument of accessions basically signed with the India or with the Pakistan on 3 subjects. What are those 3 subjects? These 3 subjects are basically first defense, right? For the defense, the princess signed with the this instrument accession. Then second one is communication, and the third one or the last one is basically foreign relation. Okay, so the defense, the communications, and then the foreign relations. These 3, the defense, communications, and the foreign relations, have to be signed the 565 princely states, right? Then next, the most the most of the princely states are basically agreed to accede with the Indian Union, However, the 6 states basically creates problem. What are those 6 states? We basically divided it into the 6 states are basically create problems. The 6 states are basically divided into 2 parts. First and foremost, pre-independence era or pre-independence, and the next one is post-independence. In pre-independence, the states are basically what? First and foremost is Travancore. Okay, so the first and foremost Travancore. Next one is Bhopal. Bhopal. The next one is Jodhpur. So Travancore, Bhopal, and Jodhpur, these basically pre-independence, and then the post-independence are basically the states are basically what? The post-independence states are Junagadh. Next one is Hyderabad, and last one is Kashmir. Kashmir means Jammu and Kashmir. Last one is Kashmir. Okay, so pre-independence era, Travancore, Bhopal and Jodhpur. Post-independence, Junagadh, Hyderabad, Kashmir, means J&K. Okay, this. So what happened? See, we briefly revised the whole things, the whole topic actually. The integration of princely state, first and foremost, on 15th August 1947, the independence was done. Then on 2nd February 1947, what happened? The PM Adli decided to transfer of power to the responsible hand, right? Not beyond June 1948. So that's why Saint Viceroy Lord Mountbatten. Okay, so Lord Mountbatten on 3rd June 1947, Lord Mountbatten proposed on 3rd June 1947, Lord Mountbatten proposed the partition plan or two nation theory. Right, so decided how the two nation theory or partition plan decided on Muslim dominancy area, partition created Bengal and Punjab. Then the referendum would be conducted Northwest Frontier Province and Sylhet area. Commissions would be established, and then the act has to be passed for transfer of power. The act should be done, okay, for the transfer of power. Then on 18th July, Indian Independence Act has to be put forward for the transfer of power in the place. Then the Radcliffe Commission established that drew a line. The Radcliffe line basically drew and this line basically divided what create Punjab, India and Pakistan, divided Punjab and Bengal. Then it said the complete transfer of power will be made to the broad of dominancy between India and Pakistan, right? Then the next thing, so broad of dominancy, India and Pakistan. Pakistan Muslim dominancy, India Hindu, where the Hindu dominance the India created. Then the lapse of paramountcy, basically it refers to the rights of the states, which basically flow from the relations with the crown, and they basically surrendered their power in front of the Britishers or the crown, and this shall be returned. This is nothing, this is called a status quo ended. Then 565 princely states occupied more than 48% of the land and 28% of the population, means the major. So the princely states, 565, two types of states we basically talked about. Princely state which have local ruler and means, and then the British rules directly under the crown. Okay, so on 25th July 1947, what happened? Mountbatten addressed the Indian Chamber to the princes, where they made an appeal to all the princely states that they have no choice but have to tax it with any of the dominancy. And then the next one is basically the instrument of accession, say signed on three subjects. For three subjects: defense, communication and foreign relation. Then the most of the states are basically agreed to accede with the Indians, but problem created by 6 states in pre-independence and post-independence. Pre-independence, what? The divided into broadly pre and post. Pre-independence, the Travancore, right? The Travancore, Bhopal and Jodhpur, and post-independence, Junagadh, Hyderabad and Jammu and Kashmir. This basically broadly lectures Travancore, Bhopal and Jodhpur. This basically the broadly lectures means 6 states. Total 6 states are there, right? Which creates problem. Now, on the next lectures we talked about the each and every states: Travancore, Bhopal, Jodhpur, Junagadh, Hyderabad, Kashmir, means Jammu and Kashmir. These 6 states, how they integrate with the Indian mainland and how the development happened, the instrument accession, how it signed, and then we at the first we looks about the background of accession of princely states. And so thanks for today's lecture, and the next lecture will be continued broadly these topics. So thanks.